Too serious, one of the fans just sort of kicked in and made quite a bit of noise. So thankfully we're back with you and back to that story about those male lions in the Kruger Park. For those of you who might have joined a bit late, I'll give a little recap. So I had a full vehicle of guests and we found these lion tracks going through into a drainage line, and my tracker Glass Maramani and myself jumped off the vehicle. I took my rifle out and we walked down into the drainage line into these sort of quarry thickets, and we weren't very far from the guests, probably between 60 and 100 meters. But they couldn't see us, and we popped out of these thickets and we saw the whole mountain pride, which we used to call them, but Nat Geo made a documentary on called The Mega Pride, an incredibly huge pride of lions on the eastern side of the Kruger National Park. And while we're there, we saw them at about 70, 80 meters. Normally at that distance, lions will either get up and move away from you during the day, or they will sort of just watch you and to make sure you don't come closer. And at that time, there was 2 big males, part of the coalition of 4 that used to dominate over that area of the park. And we didn't see them all the time. They used to move quite often between the different prides that they were dominant over. And they also were quite hungry. They hadn't eaten in about a week. And as we popped out and we looked and went, oh, lions! Expecting lions to do what lions normally do. Instead of that, the 2 males got up and came at full speed straight towards us. And my tracker started shouting, "Dubola, Dubola, Dubola, Dubola!" and just meant, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it! And obviously I don't want to shoot a lion. So I said, no, throw rocks at them. So I loaded my rifle and I dropped to my knee with my tracker standing just behind me. And there's a very simple rule when it comes to tracking lions on foot. Noisy lion, safe lion. Quiet lion, dangerous lion. So if a lion's running at you going and roaring and making lots of noise and growling, he's telling you you're too close, go away. If he's coming quietly, he's serious. And to give you an idea, at 18 meters, a lion travels at about 21 meters per second. So in less than sort of 3 seconds, those lions were 5 meters from us. And fortunately, they did stop. At this stage, my language might have taken a turn for the south while I was shouting at the top of my lungs at these lions. There's sort of a very Afrikaans term which is used, and it's amazing. All animals through Africa seem to understand Afrikaans very well, and that term is voetsak, which basically means go away, but not rude, but just slightly aggressive and impolite. So it's not actually a bad word. It basically sort of means kick you with your shoe. Foot, but obviously spelled a bit differently. So I'm screaming, "Futak, futak, futak, futak," and I got a rifle up. My tracker is now shouting in Shangaan behind me and picking up rocks and throwing them at the lions. So they stopped at about 5 meters from us, and then sort of for the next 25 minutes was quite an interesting pantomime. So what happens when you work a lot with a tracker, you have an incredible trust in that man, and obviously he has to have incredible trust in you as well, because you are sometimes put into situations exactly like this. So what we do is he will slip his finger into the back of my belt while I've got the rifle up and I'm concentrating on the lions that are very close. So I mean probably the length of this vehicle from where 2 huge male lions were and myself and Glass. And so Glass will then lead me backwards so I can concentrate entirely on the animals in front of me, and he's there to make sure I don't trip or fall over, which could really incite that to go from a bad situation to a worse situation. And basically for every half a step we took, they would take half a step. But by this stage, now that they've stopped, every time we took half a step, they went and that would start as "What's that? Shut up, go away, and start shouting. So basically the lions were shouting at us and we were shouting at the lions. And as I mentioned before, the guests were not very far away from us, probably about 60 meters, 70 meters, but they could not see this. So now at all this stages, they can hear me shouting at the top of my lungs using some choice vocabulary, and the lions growling, and then add Glass's shouting in Shangaan. I'm definitely not going to translate what Glass was shouting at that stage, and I'll only give you some of the words I said in this position. So obviously quite a lot of the vehicles, we have these earpieces. And they are plugged in, and if you're not quite sure how it all works, it can be quite a complicated thing. So one of the guests reaches down, grabs the radio and goes, oh my God, my Ranger has been eaten by a lion. Now, obviously, that goes out to all the other game drive vehicles. So there was quite, and can you imagine now, we've got a handheld that's with us while we track, but it's on. So we can now hear all the other Rangers, Brent come in, Brent or Glass come in, like now they're getting a little bit worried about us. And obviously, in this situation, there's no ways I'm reaching for my radio. I've got my hands on my rifle, and Glass has got his one hand in there, and he's got a large stick that he is also going to throw if they come too close. And we had no hands free to answer the radio for about 20 minutes. So every step we took, if they came forward, and we would start shouting again. Eventually we managed to create a little bit more distance, about 15 or 20 meters, and the lion's lying there going, and then we managed to get sort of behind a big tree, and the situation sort of diffused, and walked back straight to the vehicle. Still, both of us completely calm, fine. I take my rifle, I open the bolt, I take the round out, push it back in, put my finger in, make sure the rifle is no longer alive with a live round in it, close it, put it back into my bag, and then I'll show you exactly what happened to both Glass and myself as we decided to try get back into the vehicle. Glass was getting in from the other side, and now and obviously all the guests are saying lots of things and trying to talk to us, but we're not really in the talking mood yet. And I'm trying to get into the car, and I'm just doing this, and then again, and then my hands were doing this completely, and Glass was doing the exact same thing on the other side, till eventually just went, yo. And then I said, guys, just please wait 2 minutes before you ask us all these questions. It says, first things first, let me tell all the other rangers stations, we have not been eaten. We have located the Mountain Pride. They are lying up XYZ on whatever open area. And now our hearts are still racing, and it's amazing how we're completely calm till we actually the rifle went back into the bag, and we tried to get back in the vehicle. And the shakes carried on for quite a while. And there was one guest who had quite a sense of humor. As I said, there was some choice vocabulary flung at those lions. And she sits in the middle there, and she goes, well, Brent, I really didn't enjoy the language you were using at those lions. And I literally did one of these until I could see her face, and I realized she was just joking with me. But we then went on to actually watch those lions make a kill later on in the day. But that's definitely my most scary lion experience. And I've probably on foot been charged by lions, sure, somewhere close to 100 times. The reserve where my parents live and whatnot, those lions don't get walked very often, so general rule is they will give you a little charge. They'll run towards you, go, but nothing quite like I experienced from those Lubombo lions in the Eastern Kruger. But still, possibly one of my favorite experiences I've ever had in the bush. Anyway, we're going to continue on. I got a little call in my ear from Jamie while we were telling that story, that there is something